Hey there, toy collector friends and Doctor Who fans alike. Welcome back to the channel. This is the time travelling toy collector, never truer than today, and this is the 8th Doctor's TARDIS console as it appeared in the TV movie and continued to appear, at least in sound, through the audio adventures released with Big Finish. This is a hugely much awaited model from Hero Collector. I was really thrilled when it was announced that it was going to be released, particularly thrilled to get it in hand at last. I must say, particularly on the back of the previous model that was released, which was the 13th Doctor's console, which you may recall if you've seen the video. If not, minor spoilers lie ahead. I wasn't as enamoured with, on the basis that some of the surface detailing was a little bit limited, even for a hand-painted model of this sort of class. It was a bit disappointing, and there was quite a lot of online agreement, I think, in general with that view. This is the 8th Doctor's model. It does appear sort of tenuously at the back end of the 7th Doctor, as portrayed by Sylvester McCoy, but predominantly let's give this over to Paul McGann's much underexposed, certainly in televisual media, 8th Doctor. That's my stance, and it's my channel, so there you go. Anyway, this model, love it. Again, we are in the realm, so we'll clear this up first. It's a resin model. There's plastic in there. There's all sorts of material in there. I have a few things I'm very pleased to see. There's a couple of comments I will make, but again, I'm trying to bear in mind constantly that the classification of the figurine, because it does form part of the Doctor Who figurine collection. So I am mindful of that. So the scaling is an important consideration for me, along with the quality of the hand painting detail and the price point. So it's taking all of those things, wrapping them together. For me, this is everything that I think the 13th Doctor's TARDIS console could have been and wasn't. It's a beautiful sort of Jules Verne-esque tribute to science fiction. It was first seen in the 1996 TV movie, as I've mentioned already. And it was a bit of a departure, to be fair, from the console that had gone before, but also, fascinatingly, it bridged nicely into what came in 2005, when we suddenly got what was then the 9th Doctor, their TARDIS, and the TARDISes that followed, up until the point where we had the 13th Doctor's TARDIS, where the central column literally connected to the ceiling, one way or another, to the ceiling of the TARDIS. And that trend started with this model of TARDIS console. So I'm letting it rotate round so you get a chance to sort of check out the paneling. You can see already there's some lovely 3D touches. We've got the desk lamp there. We've got over here the handle, the crankshaft handle there. We've got the wings of desire that are embedded into the console, which was a surviving design feature. We have this interesting sort of rim around the console, which is, as it were, was on the screen, along with these inserts here, these control buttons, and these what are intended to be wired components. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more for you, and then I will pick it up and do the usual. But I do think this is a lovely entry into this particular range there. I hope that's taken for you. You can see the level of detailing. It's quite fine here, because again, a bit like the 4th Doctor's secondary TARDIS console, which is a bit like a wooden writing bureau. This holds some of that wooden feel. Jules Verne, I know I said Jules Verne, but that kind of, it's evoking that kind of period, certainly for me. And I think that's kind of what they were going with this design of TARDIS. It was the first time it was a bit kind of gothic. It was the first time it was quite dingily lit rather than the glowing whites of the previous incarnations of the console. And so we've got the lights, we've got switches, the crank handle, we've got dials, we've got a combination of what looks like sliding switches. We've got these lovely inlaid stars, which I remember from the point at which it was actually aired. I remember seeing that and thinking, gosh, that's a bit of an innovation. This section here is where the destination and time settings are controlled from. And also we can see in a second the slide control there, which was the main dematerialization feature. There's a lot going on here. It doesn't possess a rotating monitor of any description because there wasn't one in this iteration. It actually came as a holographic representation in the ceiling. So this one doesn't really, in that sense, have anything missing from the console in that respect. Yes, some of these are perhaps flatter than they would be in an actual larger scale model, but again, this is, you know, it's a resin model that's been hand painted, so one has to allow a degree of inaccuracy for the sake of that. The studs you can see around the base of the time rotor, which is what I'm calling it, are beautiful, and they're echoed further on up the console. I'm going to lift it. I'm going to keep it where it is. I'll pull out slightly for you just to give you a little bit of breathing space, and me a little bit of breathing space too. So I'm going to go underneath first, just so I can show you that, again, like with other consoles, the base is very nicely done. It's very nicely done. You can see those claws, almost like dragon claws holding on to dragon eggs as part of the decoration. And again, we see that under a segment of the TARDIS that feeds up and through into the time rotor itself. I'm going to tilt it now and turn it manually, so you can see the various sides of the hexagonal console. It's still very obviously hexagonal. We can see those inlaid star designs was something that I was, as I say, I was very taken with. That section looks a bit Bakelite to me, or intending to be Bakelite. There's lots of dials. There are elements here that's very, for me, evocative of the first Doctor's TARDIS. If the first Doctor's TARDIS was sort of lifted and shifted into a Jules Verne-esque 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea type of variation. You can see there, I'll just point them out for you in case you're not sure what I'm talking about, what classified the Wings of Desire badge that's included within the design. Again, that section below here, very, very Bakelite-esque for me. So again, evocative of multiple eras. Pin dials so that the Doctor and his travelling companions can manipulate them with skill using their dexterous fingers. Here we come round to seeing some of the other controls, particularly the era, so what era, the Humanian era it was for the TV film. There's some sliding scales. You can adjust the location and date and time. It's really, for me, really well detailed, and again, it just brings back into sharp focus the disappointment of the 13th Doctor's TARDIS console. So if you haven't seen it yet, do check out my my up close and personal video on that one. I'm also going to show you the time rotor here. I wasn't too sure how they were going to do this. It looks a little bit like old sweet cigarettes, if that's something that you're familiar with. If not, that's something you can Google in your own time. But it's sort of a blue, almost spearmint-esque central section within the console. And again, interesting evolution of this particular range. But again, the console itself came as a single entity. So you'll recall all the releases prior to the 13th Doctor's TARDIS had a separate section, one way or another, around the time rotor that needed to be fitted, whether it was the plastic segment or it was something else, other than the Fourth Doctor's secondary control room, which didn't have anything. It was just a self-contained entity. So, and I'm really pleased to see that there's a plastic tube encasing the time rotor, and I can pan up a little bit so you can see how that looks as it goes all the way up to the top. I'll go slightly beyond the reach of it for you, so you've got it all in there. So I think that's a real joy. It's, again, it casts a little bit of a shadow for me on the 11th, 12th Doctor's TARDIS console, where the time rotor was completely exposed, because again, it demonstrates they can encase it in plastic, as we knew they could. So it's a shame that Hero Collector didn't do that. But again, I'm not going to look backwards, I'm just going to keep looking forwards. And this, for me, is a really beautiful piece, and I'm so pleased that Hero Collector have released this. I think originally it was due to come out on the 1st of December, if I remember from their website. It didn't. There was a bit of a delay, but I think people are receiving them now. I'm seeing Twitter light up with people being excited that it's now arrived. It's arrived in their home, and I fully appreciate and share those enthusiastic comments. It's a lovely piece. It's going to sit absolutely superbly alongside my other Doctor Who TARDIS console models. So from my point of view, am I glad that I forked out for this, and does it definitely have a place in my collection? Well, I think it's a foregone conclusion. The answer to that's going to be yes, folks. Does it have a place in your collection? Well, I'll be honest, it's not the largest console, but it is, I think, very evocative of the period, a very fleeting period on screen, but a period nevertheless that I hold very dear. The detailing for me is very good. I appreciate it's hand painted, and yes, as a result there is some bleed on some of the segments in the panel, particularly the densely painted sections. I think the one that's most noticeable is coming around now, which is the destination and time coordinate setter. Yeah, that's a little bit messy in terms of the paint, but it's messy relative. It's not like slopped all over the place. It's not like they've gone, oh, they haven't stayed within the lines. It's within the concept. It's an acceptable bleed as far as I'm concerned. The base is nice, the stand is nice, the time rotor is nice. It's great that it's come in one piece. As ever, we do get the magazine, and actually this time it's got a lovely picture of Paul McGann on the front operating his handle, so say no more there. The TARDIS console, TV movie console. I'm not going to, I know I tend to flip through it all, I'm not going to do that so much, but I will just quickly show you this. It'll probably fill up the screen, but again, it's an opportunity for you to see that the panels here are all very clearly illustrated into and labelled up, so you can see exactly what each section is supposed to be and represents, and what it does, and all that wonderful stuff. And again, one more time, I will say that much like the 13th Doctor's TARDIS console figurine, this came in a substantially upgraded box, so they're really now investing wisely in the packaging and the product quality for this box, I must say. So that gets top marks for me. So really, in terms of does it have a place in your collection, only you know the answer to that, but I hope giving you an opportunity to have an up-close look at this, ideally as early as possible in its release, you're in a position to go, actually, you know what, I really like the look of that, I'm going to add it to my collection, or I'm going to use it to start my collection. And if that's the case, then head on over to the Hero Collector shop and you'll be able to purchase it. Only available online at the moment as far as I'm aware. If, however, having seen it, you're going, that's not really for me, I'm afraid, that's fine too. I'd much rather people had a close look at this sort of thing and went, actually, yeah, I'm not going to spend 30-40 pounds on something that it's not really my cup of tea, or I'm going to feel disappointed with when I get it in hand. It is not a heavy piece, but it's substantial enough. You know you've got it. You know it's in your hand when it's there. So I think it's a very nice piece. I think it's a lovely piece to have in the collection. You can see here how it scales, broadly speaking, with a character options TARDIS exterior, and also with the 8th Doctor from the character options figures range. That is not the ideal scaling, as you are all aware. It's designed to scale with the figurine collection itself. Again, for the purposes of presenting this video, I think you can do it with some nice perspective work. And again, I'll try and take a couple of photos with it to put it in context and see how that looks for the end of the video. If you found this useful in either direction, then please do hit the like button. By all means, leave a comment. Do you like the TARDIS consoles collection? Are there any consoles you'd like to see be released in the new forthcoming year alongside the ones we've already had announced? If so, drop me a comment below. That'll be great. Really appreciate it. Whilst you're there, why not add a subscription to the channel and turn on those notifications so you never miss an upcoming video, whether you're interested in Doctor Who toys and memorabilia, whether it's Supernatural, Battlestar Galactica, Transformers, Star Trek, Star Wars. Oh my goodness me, could be anything. There's an eclectic world of collectible stuff out there, and I will try and touch on as much of it as people are interested in, and indeed that I'm interested in, because really this is about stuff that I'm interested in collecting and my reactions to them. So apologies if it's not an in-depth slating review. I try and keep it more on what works for me, and there's so much here that works for me, and then the things that don't, I will flag where that's the case. Thanks for staying with me for the last 15 or 16 minutes. You've been a fantastic audience. I've been the time-travelling toy collector, and this has been the 8th Doctor's TARDIS console from the Hero Collector Doctor Who figurine collection. I hope you found it useful. In the meantime, all it remains for me to say is that a thing of beauty really is a toy forever. Do look after yourselves and each other, keep safe, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Bye bye for now.